Listen, we've got some red stuff in, as you can see. For the price of this saw, we can buy 2.5 of that saw. In this case, sorry Milwaukee, but welcome to another episode of Tool Academy. Listen, we've got some red stuff in, as you can see. It's basically one customer, one of our regulars, who's a fan of this brand. So used machines, broken machines, he brought it all to us for service. Some are just for inspection, some have minor faults, and some have something more serious. So we'll test them, see what's going on here. Let's try to fix the damaged ones first, then test them. We'll see if they can even be fixed and if it's worth fixing them. Let's maybe start with some less popular machines like, I don't know, a saw or a hammer. In the next episodes, we'll look at cordless devices. We'll try to mix it up with other brands a bit. We won't air all these Milwaukee devices one after another so it doesn't get too boring. But we'll be posting them on the channel every now and then, really. If you want something more specific, you're more than welcome to contact us. Join the discussion in the comments. We'll try to meet your needs somehow. Actually, we'll focus on what you see here one by one. Listen, briefly, what do we have here? Let's do a quick overview. We have a very interesting saw. I rarely come across it. This is a fairly old device from 2010, model CS60. Listen, we have a K700 demolition hammer on SDS Max, so a serious machine. Here we have some charger. We have an FHX, that's an M18 FHX, a pretty popular hammer. Here the fault is minor because the switch fell apart and the handle falls out, but otherwise it supposedly works. We have a grinder like this. This is an M18F SAGV 125XB grinder. It has a brake and a speed controller. Well, this is a trivial matter generally. The slider broke off and won't snap into place. We have this cordless saw here, which interestingly enough got hit by some sort of lime green ricochet. It's an M18CCS55 model. Now over here we have some old thing, which is actually an M18B PD. As for the PH26TX, it's a fairly popular rotary hammer, well known among professionals and DIY enthusiasts alike for its reliability and performance. And that's basically it. Listen, okay, I'll clean up this mess and let's focus on, say, this saw. Come on in. Listen, for starters, let's take a device like this. Milwaukee saw model CS60, 1600 watts, 7.2 amps, 220, 240 volts. What interesting info do we have here? Speed 5800 RPM from 0 to 61 millimeters for depth. As for the blade diameter, it's 184 millimeters. Let's check if it's even still being manufactured. If it is still in production, then see how much it costs and how you can still buy it. What can I say about the external build? It looks, man, very massive and solid. I don't know where it's manufactured. We have something like a Germany label here, so it might be German, but there's no made in really, so I wouldn't bet my life on it. Aluminum, a nice construction. This plate is also quite solid. This motor is so huge. Look, it's so, man, massive. I'd even say it's like a heavy-duty carpentry tool. The cord is strong, thick and long. This cord actually looks original to me. Well, the machine is from 2010, so the machine is 16 years old. I don't know what happened here. The customer didn't tell me anything, so we'll see. We'll try to fix it. What else can I say about the build or adjustments? Well, it basically looks like a standard circular saw, really. So we have the depth adjustment. We can tilt this base plate. We have angle adjustment up to 45 degrees. And here we have this little button, listen. And with this button, we can set the tilt, I mean the angle, even further. It somehow turns, I think, because it has to fall, into a special groove, and we can tilt it to a 56-degree angle. I have no idea what you cut at 56 degrees. Generally, let someone who works with wood speak up. I don't know anything about that. Basically, the tilt goes to 45, and then after pressing it, it goes to 56. It's cool generally because we don't have to think, just unscrew, click, and it's at 45. Well, this aluminum base looks very massive, so that's fine. And here's the spot for the wrench to unscrew the blade. To be honest, it's a mediocre spot for that wrench. Like, man, well, if it hasn't fallen out in all these years, it means it's probably good overall, but it could be in a slightly different place. We have a spindle lock, we have an extraction port here. Well, we don't have any regulators here and so on. Does it have a soft start? We'll see in a moment at the workshop. Well, overall from the outside, it looks very massive, heavy. The motor is huge, so it should probably be fine. So come to the workshop, let's see what's inside, what the fault is. Let's try to fix it. Let's see how it's constructed, if we can fix it, what parts will be needed, and how much they'll cost. So, come along. Listen, let's take this saw apart, but first, let's check the standard difficulty level for replacing the brushes. The difficulty level for replacing the cord, shortening the cord, the switch, and so on. And then let's look inside. To start with, generally, when it comes to saws, I try, if there's such a function, and there is here, to extend this base plate fully, because then it just stands stably on the table. And let's get to this rear part that covers the brushes. And what do we see here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I can already tell you that we won't be fixing this saw in this episode because the rotor is completely fried. Take a look at how it looks. I'm going along the commutator here. Good, good, good. Fried, fried, fried. Good, good, good. Fried, fried, fried. And now, generally, because it looks quite clear right here, I'll take this rotor out later and show you an even better way to see that it's actually burnt out. But even now, I can put my finger on the commutator and turn the rotor, and one of the segments is lifted. The second method is that we have the brushes installed right now, as you can see, touching the commutator, and when we turn the spindle, we should hear a distinct clicking sound as the brush lifts over that one burnt segment. That's exactly what I mean, and that tells us right away that the rotor is well fried. But anyway, let's get to the matter of how to replace the brushes. We have these little brushes here, maybe I'll use some tweezers. We lift the spring and slide the brush out. But the surprise is that the brush is actually welded to the brush holder. So in this case, we have to replace the entire brush along with the brush holder. If you're replacing the rotor, you'll need to replace these brush holders with new ones because, well, you should generally replace the brushes with new ones when you replace the rotor. But it's a bit poor from the manufacturer that we have to buy it as a whole unit. We'll see how that works out in terms of cost. But you could definitely use some kind of spade connector here, plug it in next to it, and that would be that. So let's call that the first downside. Let's slide out the second brush and try to get to the motor. To get to the motor, we generally, well, even for the cord and the switch, we actually have to, from what I can see, take basically the whole thing apart. Now that's, you know, a pretty bad surprise because we have to dismantle half the machine just to shorten the cord. First of all, before we do anything else, we need to carefully unscrew this screw, which is the one that actually holds the tilt mechanism securely in place right here. Alright then. We've got the stator and the whole handle assembly out, and now this side to the back. Only then can we remove the cover. This part of the housing right here is the section that reveals the inside to us, and what do we actually see here? We can see the switch, which is carefully and securely screwed in place. Let's try to loosen it up here. And only at this point, after lifting the brushes, after taking apart the whole motor and lifting it up, can we actually shorten the cable. The cable is mounted, well, generally on these eyelets. Maybe let's disconnect one wire and check how it looks. It's got these eyelets with these angled connectors. But here, generally, if you really wanted to, you could throw them out and just under this screw, just put the wires or maybe crimp some kind of sleeve. The switch is cool, quite solid, well protected against dust. You see, there's a lot of sawdust here. It still clicks nicely, it works. Let's get to the stator. Let's see how it looks. First of all, it must be said that the stator is screwed in, so that's already a plus. Down here in the body, you see we have this springy plate. It's a wave washer, which acts as a slinger for this bearing. And we also have two of these rubber dampers that stabilize the bearing for us. Well, I could complain a bit about this socket, although, well, it's from 2010 and it still works. The bearing must be of very good quality because, well, it's not exactly an ideal hold for this bearing. I've seen much better quality bearing seats. Let's take out the stator. To take this stator out, we have to disconnect the connectors on both sides, and look, it practically falls out on its own. We don't have to tap it with a hammer. Well, here we're left with just the brush holders and the housing. What can we say about this stator? Well, the stator is definitely overheated. So if we're going to do this, we'll be replacing both the rotor and the stator. It's actually quite heavily sandblasted. Here you can notice that besides the fact that it was exposed to very high temperatures, we see it here, and here, it actually doesn't have any of that varnish left here. So that varnishing was quite poor, or maybe there wasn't any at all. We see overheating everywhere around here. Overall, the stator is very large and substantial. Okay, let's put this aside, let's look further. Okay, we have the rotor out. And what can we say here? Listen, well, you can see this burn through very clearly here. exactly in this spot. I don't know if it'll be visible at all, but this segment is raised. The insulation between the segments on the commutator is burnt, it even crunches. So we have a short circuit beautifully shown on the commutator. The rotor generally needs to be replaced. The rotor and stator need to be replaced. Here we have some loose wire. Here we have these wires sandblasted. Here we have a broken wire. That's how it looks. But let's see what kind of bearings we have here. We have some Chinese bearings here. Right here we have what is called a Z, and over here we have an RS. These bearings are very good overall. So, well, it hums a bit, but for a Z type, it's still pretty good. I don't know if these bearings were originally used in this device because the machine is from 2010 and it's been used. So maybe someone was in here before and replaced these bearings. Okay, we already have 2 damaged items. One burnt out, the other totally overheated. Let's take a look at the gearbox. Listen, well, here, as in many other saws actually, manufacturers sometimes use standard Seeger rings and sometimes they use these spiral plates, which are right here. I'm removing it now. It's just clipped around like this. Oh, this is what it looks like, this safety clip. Let's take it off. We have another insert here. We can lift the whole guard. And underneath we have a spring like this. It has its own seat. Well, this one is fine, very solidly made, so there's nothing to complain about here. We have a sliding ring like this, and we have 4 screws. Removing them. It looks like to remove this gearbox we have to unscrew the spindle lock, which is located at the back. We'll see how it's built in a moment. But generally, it's a lock like in a grinder for unscrewing the disc. So in this case, we have this little button on the side that we use to lock the spindle to unscrew the blade. It's pretty much standard. This sort of thing appears in many Chinese saws already. Okay, and at this point, the gearbox has come out. What do we have here? Needle bearing at the bottom. A lot of grease. And here we have a bearing in the gearbox housing. And here, right into this groove, what you'll notice is that we have these 2 notches generally found on both sides, and the spindle lock actually fits into these notches. Once the spindle lock is in place within the notches, we can then carefully unscrew the blade. The gear is generally in very good condition, so there's nothing to complain about here. The bearing is in perfect condition actually, so I won't be pressing it out. It stays. Listen, that's what it looks like regarding the entire construction of this device. Well, we have this device basically fried, so let's go and try to price it out somehow. We'll see if it's even worth repairing. We'll have to call the customer, suggest this repair to him, and give him some costs. We'll see what he says to that. Well, the saw is generally 16 years old and quite solidly built. Quite solidly built, yes. The saw is generally 16 years old and quite solidly built, so it's probably worth it. We'll just see for how much money. Okay, listen, as far as parts go, we already have the diagram open here. I typed in the number. The first surprise that shows up here is that we can't buy the rotor and stator separately. We have to buy the rotor and stator as a set. Well, in this case, we have a burnt stator and a fried rotor, but let's see how much it costs. 524 zlotys plus VAT gives us 6,500. 644. 650 zlotys is very, very, very much overall. As for the carbon brushes along with the brush holders, that's 30 zlotys. 30 plus VAT makes it 37. So we're looking at 700 overall. Brushes with holders and the rotor with the stator. Listen, let's also see how much, for example, this top cover costs. 170 zlotys. Well, that's still somewhat acceptable, let's say. I've already looked it up and checked that this saw is still being produced. The saw is still being produced without any changes. Let's click buy now and see how much the manufacturer wants for such things. We have companies here like Sampro, for example. Let's click. It costs 1,279 zlotys. I found a cheaper one for 1,160. 1,160 compared to 700 zlotys for parts plus, say, an hour of work, so another 100. So in total, it comes out to roughly 800 zlotys to repair this device. Add 360 zlotys and you have a brand new one with a 3-year warranty. In my opinion, it's just not worth it. The second point I'd like to raise is definitely that this device is horrendously expensive. We have a device like the Makita HS7611. This saw costs, as you can see, plus or minus 500. Let's check on our favorite portal. Well, of course, where else but here. 489 zlotys. Listen, this device also has a 3-year warranty. It's also professional and it has a very nice aluminum base. The blade is basically the same. It has the same amount of power. Believe me, it's good, professional, much cheaper to repair, and well, in this case, I absolutely won't persuade the customer to repair this Milwaukee, but I'll suggest buying such a Makita instead. Because for the price of that saw, we can buy 2.5 of these saws. This saw is also professional overall, it's fine. The power is the same. As for the blade diameter, it's the same. Well, here the cutting depth will probably be a bit different. Actually, no, listen, here it has 65 millimeters, whereas in the Milwaukee it was 61 millimeters, so it has even more. So in this case, repairing this Milwaukee is completely not worth it. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please subscribe, boost the video, give it a thumbs up, and see you in the next episode.